Nostalgia is a powerful force. No matter what decade you grew up in, the thought of all things that made you happy growing up or as a young adult will always bring up emotion and memories. One of the propellers for the feeling of nostalgia is video games. The feeling of playing your favorite video game, it's hard to describe, but there is nothing quite like getting lost in a world, letting your imagination run free, engaging and forgetting all of your problems, responsibilities, and even your hardships. I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you're either an avid gamer, a collector, or just a general enjoyer of the video game world. I myself, I'm all three. And being born in the early 90s, Pokémon is my biggest grasp to that nostalgic feeling. And to me, it's the best video game franchise. And even if you disagree with that last statement, the story I'm telling today, I think it's one we can all agree with, whether you're in the Pokemon world or not. And that story is how insane video game prices are today. In particular, Pokemon video game prices. And without further ado, let's jump in. If you're familiar with myself or the channel, you may already know this, but if you're not, I recently really started making serious content earlier this year, and I had one idea and one mission in mind: start and complete the entire Pokemon game collection from scratch. When I started this mission, I dubbed it Gotta Collect Them All. And when I started Gotta Collect Them All, of course, I was semi-familiar with the video game market. I've done game hunting, I've done all kinds of things, seen a bunch of videos. I understood that games were expensive. My thoughts were, though, just go look for some loose copies of the games. Surely those would be affordable. You know, stay away from the CIB stuff. Probably not gonna be able to afford that. But oh boy, was I sadly mistaken. During my first few video game hunts, when I started to try to collect every single Pokemon game, I was definitely in a honeymoon phase with that, and I wasn't really caring too much about the prices. But as of recently, as I approach the end of my collection, I've become deeply saddened with where the Pokemon video game market is and how difficult it is to collect these games. So I felt inclined to make this video. To start, I think it's best to explore a bit of a history of the video game market and how prices have been. As I've discussed, we're laser focusing on Pokemon games for this video, but I do think this runs true for a lot of video game franchises. It just cuts really deep with Pokemon. And I want to start by just taking a look at some of the price charting for these retro Pokemon games. This is actually my second time recording this. My mic wasn't on. However, I'm going to breeze through some of the prices for the current game market and judge them on what the past looked like. Let's start with Pokemon Yellow, 2014. Let's go back 10 years. You could get it loose for about, you know, in this time frame, between $20 and $30. It looks like CIB at this time. This is crazy. $66 CIB, which obviously if you zoom forward, CIB is now off the charts, up at $300, but even loose has doubled in price in 10 years. Your COVID boom here is where it kind of started to spike, and it's just consistently going up, guys. We then check out Sapphire, my personal favorite game. You guys will have to let me know your favorite game in the comments or what you're looking to collect, but you look at Sapphire, 10 years back, $15 loose, 40 CIB. I would kill for these prices right now, because if you zoom forward, you have basically tripled that price. CIB, you know, it's an arm and a leg. Emerald, a very interesting story here, right? Because it's the predecessor to Sapphire and Ruby. So it's a very, you know, this might be a lot of people's favorite game. Loose 10 years ago, $30. Loose now, $210, guys. $210. CIB, almost $700. This is one of the hottest games on the market. But guys, I mean, you're quintupling the price. I don't know what the tuple amount is, but you're really jacking the price up on this one now, which is crazy. So this is not a very attainable game for a lot of people. And then we'll look at the difference. We got Diamond and Pearl here. About 10 years ago, you're looking at about $20. Now you're looking, this game for some reason hasn't really shot up too much. I don't know. I guess because of the remakes, maybe because they're attainable and playable on Switch now. CIB, you can get this one for a decent price. I would highly recommend, if you're a Pokemon collector, you're trying to start a collection, this is a place to start. You can get a nice CIB retro game for about $60. But then we get into Platinum, $150 CIB, $100 loose. 10 years ago, same story as all of these, right guys? $25. We've quadrupled the price. You can see the boom that happened in COVID. This is when it was actually at its highest point. But I mean, we're probably gonna get back up there in no time. This is kind of crazy. And that's obviously the market there. So that's where the games were, that's where they are. For some reasoning, right? So why did this happen? Why is this happening? An easy thing to start with is just the supply. We'll throw a few pictures up on screen or some recordings of what the supplies look like for some of these games. So more or less, how many of these games sold, how many of these games are even out there. A lot of Pokemon games sold a lot of copies, right? You know, 5, 7, 10 million. I'm not sure if any sold 10 million, but I know Emerald sold a lot of millions, right? So there was a lot of games out there. So based on that, we can tell a lot of games are sold. There was a decent supply, but you know, this is 10, 20 years ago even. A lot of these games have been damaged. They've been stuck in an attic, stuck in a box somewhere that will probably never ever see the light of day, or they were just plain lost. And you know, for me, I had all these games growing up. I have no idea where any of them are. They're all gone. They're somewhere, I have no idea, they're lost. Out of all that supply, a lot of those are gone, so you know, you're left with whatever's out there. And with the amount of people that are in the world today, you can see how supply and demand works. You know, there's only a certain amount of these games out there, they're not being produced anymore. That's gonna drive the price, right? The exclusivity of how to get these games, it's gonna drive the price. Obviously, as we were showing with some of the screen share, there was a boom that happened during COVID time. You know, I'm not going to stick on this point long. You know, I think we all know it happened. Just looking at the price charts, we can see when those spikes occurred. So whatever the reason was, when we were all locked down, you know, that nostalgia was pumping. We wanted to get these games. We wanted to collect stuff, hold on to things. It was a way to go out, do some thrifting, all that, whatever that was, right? It had the nostalgia pumping and it really raised the market, and we have not seen it go down since. We can also take a look here. I know this is a hot button. It's a controversial aspect of the market. It's resellers, right? Video game resellers.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I want to preface this. One of the big reasons I got into YouTube and got into making this channel is because I got trapped in like a deep wormhole of the popular video game resellers, game hunters, thrifters, you name it. I'm not going to name the names of these people. If you know them, you know them, right? Most of us know them if you're into the scene. A lot of people would say that might be one of the biggest reasons for this, right? There's a lot of channels out there exposing these resellers for ripping people off, and I understand that. I don't agree with what people do in that sense. It sucks. It hurts us all. Do they lend a hand in setting the market? Surely, right? They're the ones selling the games, but us as consumers, we also play into that, right? When the prices are increasing, we're still here buying the games, right? We're still here buying the games. So if we simply just stop buying them, we could reset the market, right? Prices, they're gonna have to get their product off. They're gonna have to sell their stuff. So we could reset that, right? We could just stop buying video games.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
Obviously, we aren't going to do that. We're not going to stop buying video games. Look, we have one life to live. For whatever reason, our calling, if you're watching this video, it's probably yours too, the same as mine. I want to collect these games. I love the nostalgia. I love having them. I love playing them. You know, that's what we're here for. So we're not going to stop buying them. The resellers are not going to stop reselling. This is going to be a thing that keeps happening. And then to kind of recap and throw it all together, right? For the Pokemon premise of this video, right? I'm a Pokemon YouTuber. This obviously has had a big effect on the entire video game market. You go out to hunt for your favorite video games, whether it be Pokemon, whether it be Mario, Zelda, PS2 games, PS3 games even now, Dreamcast, you name it, any of those old systems, NES. There's a spike in all of these markets for any of those really good games that we all hold value to. But when we're looking at Pokemon in general, we're talking about one of, if not the, I'll have to throw some screenshots on the screen here, the most popular video game franchise on Earth, right? Like, this is global, this is worldwide. It's an extremely popular franchise. It's definitely in the top 5. I don't know if it's #1 or not. And that's just the case here, right? We all want to play Pokemon games. We're all fans. It gripped a lot of us from my generation, current generations. It's out on the Switch. It's out everywhere. If you want my opinion on if this is going to stop, the big answer there is it's no, a big no. I don't think this is going to stop. I think the prices might stay around where they're at. You know, as the games get older, the prices are going to keep going up, especially CIB. CIB is insane. It's really hard to attain. For loose copies of these games, it's going to keep around where it's at. It's going to keep going up. We haven't seen it stop. I know it's a really hard place, really hard time to be a video game collector in today's world. Feel bad for all of us. It's put a halt to my series on my channel, even to collect all the games, because they're expensive. We got bills to pay, we got families to feed, we got things to do. I found myself, right, having to save multiple paychecks up just to go do one video game hunt, which before, maybe it wasn't the case 5 years ago, 6 years ago to do that. It's just reality. Look, for physically playing the games, I'm not an idiot. I know there's options. I know there's ways to play these games. They might not be the most legal. They might not be the most tasteful way to play the games, but we can get them. Emulators exist, and I would be lying to you if you watch my channel, if you watch my playthroughs. If I haven't touched an emulator, I'd be lying, right? They exist, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't hit the same, right? When you grab that cart off the shelf, that Pokemon game off the shelf, whatever it is, you plug it into your Game Boy, you press the button, you turn it on. It's just, it feels so good to play it the old-fashioned way and the way it was meant to be played. There's no feeling quite like that, and I think that's why we all grip to it and we want the games, right? We want them sitting on the shelf. They look cool. I mean, look at my shelf right now. My shelf looks pretty cool. So having these games collected, it's just a big deal. It's a thing we want to do. And I don't know if I said it before, but obviously I'm not the authority on this, guys. I don't have all of the information, all of the history, but I can speak from experience as I'm currently collecting all the Pokemon games. It's really hard. It's really tough out here. I wanted to put some eyes on it. I really wanted to get your guys' thoughts as well in the comments on this. Like, are you struggling to get games? What are you feeling about this? Do you think this market's going to shift? I hope it does. I don't think it is, unfortunately. Sadly, I contribute to it, right? Some of us do. I'm going to go out and buy the games. Like, I'm not going to stop. But what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments on this whole thing with Pokemon video games in general. I'm really interested and eager to hear your experiences, your stories, and your thoughts on this. If you're interested in Pokemon stuff, by the way, go ahead, subscribe to my channel. I do playthroughs, I do collections. I'll be doing a ton of stuff on here, different videos like this. So I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you can. It's free. You know, it doesn't cost like a Pokemon game costs. It's free. You just click the button. But again, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and bye-bye.